Hello everyone, my name is Nathan and today it's time for another episode of Oxygen Not Included here with our one duplicate challenge. In the previous episode we took care of a smelting setup so we have easy access to metals without any losses, and in today's episode I would like to hook up at least one oil reservoir. I actually explored all the way over to the left and right in order to identify all the oil reservoirs, and from what I can tell we only have 3. There's one on the left side, one in the center and one on the right side. Unfortunately, they are pretty much spread apart so that I have to make individual setups for them, but we could for instance tap into one so we have easy access to more oil when we need it. But I think to get our initial petroleum and plastic we might actually be able to just make use of the crude oil we find here. Now from what I can tell, the barrier here is pretty sturdy. There's no hot abyssalite touching the oil biome until we get to the right side. So there is one leak right here, and if we have oil touching the abyssalite here, then we have a problem. So we'll have to fix that. And to do that, we're just gonna replace the hot abyssalite tiles with some insulated tiles. And now we can actually go ahead and hollow out the entirety of the oil biome if we want to do that as a next step. And I really think this is not such a bad idea. I'm gonna start with a bunch of ladders all the way over here. And then every 7th row, we're gonna build another set. 5, 6, 7, this will be the next one, and this way we can hollow out the entire thing and we'll be able to reach it. We can even do one better to make everything secure is prioritize the ladders to priority 6. Yeah, I think hollowing out all of this is going to be a good first step to get things going. And here I am already going to town. No, I actually decided to collect the bleach stone instead. That's fine, that's fine. I also didn't fail to notice we found 2 new neural vacilators. Wow, that was kind of a mouthful. Yeah, over there is the second one, and that means way more potential for my duplicant to become a Super Saiyan. And here my grandiose digging adventure is starting. I bet you this is not even gonna take that long. It's cycle 247. Let's see how long it takes to actually hollow out the entirety of the oil biome. I think I made a slight mistake. We do not actually get igneous rock here. We mostly get sedimentary rock, so that's what we should use to build the scaffolding. Anyways, I'm gonna be right back once I've made some progress. Alrighty, we are back and it is actually 2 days later or so. It took a little bit longer than I first anticipated and I'm not even done. We are halfway done, but check this out. A lot of work out of the way and the oil wells exposed. I also discovered a cobalt volcano. I've never actually seen that or tamed one, so that's actually very interesting. But yeah, with that out of the way, I would say we're gonna continue our run here. Work time should begin momentarily. A little morning exercise on the hamster wheel. I wish I was like that in real life. Now the reason it takes so long for the most part is because some of the time I waste doing other stuff like gathering food. And it's not really a waste, but you know, once I'm down here I'm actually really going to town with the building. As a matter of fact, let's have a look at our stats by now. They should have changed a little bit. We now have excavation 30 already. And mind you, so far the unlimited stats mod did not kick in yet as I did not reach the hard limit of the game. You can see we get plus 10 for the Atmo suit. Our skill level is 10, we get plus 4 from the alone and then a whole bunch from the hard digging skills. We also have 21 machinery and 14 athletics, all of which I'm very proud of. Also strength, pretty high. Everything else we still need to work on. When it gets really close to the downtime, I send myself back. And this way I'm not missing any meals or poops. But yeah, this is what I've been pretty much doing for the past 20 or so cycles, maybe a little bit more. But it's gonna be totally worth it, and of course we are gonna do that with the entirety of the planetoid, and hopefully if the series does well we're gonna do that with all planetoids, and it's gonna be an absolute insane mission. But I'm really looking forward to what we can come up with to make this adventure worthwhile. And of course, because I'm babbling on, I totally forgot to send myself back. But usually I still make it, I just have to poop a little bit and then eat like crazy and then still make it to bed. But of course I'm gonna miss a little bit of work time for the next day. Oh no, actually this time it wasn't enough for the meal. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking when it's not important. And I'm gonna meet you right back when we can get to the next step. So now we get closer to nighttime, and usually when the arrow here hits the crater of the moon, I just go ahead and move myself up, and this way I'm not gonna miss anything. And just when bedtime hits, I'm going to bed. It is perfect. Okay, a little status update. I now finished this part. It's just one little part left to go that is gonna expose the last oil reservoir and give us all the materials, fossils, lead and diamonds for the most part. But yeah, I have to say, this is going to be very interesting to work with, especially this little mountain. I kind of would like to get rid of the top portion here, maybe up to this part, so we'll have to either push it... No, there's some neutronium in the way. Don't do this to me. I think we might actually be able to get away with it. What if we had a tile like this, a layer like so? Yeah, look at that. We just get away with it, so maybe it's not that bad. But yeah, I figured it is now time to use the neural vacillator. I didn't use it because I just forgot about it. Let's do it and see what skills we get. Here I am using it. Oh, wonderful. I could just watch this all day, but it's no use. Complete neural process and hopefully we get something good. Nathan's brain is vibrating, but they've never felt better. Nathan acquired the deep diver's lung trait. This is just absolutely insane. I didn't even consider the neural vacillators when I decided to go for this playthrough. So now we actually consume half of the air a normal dupe would consume. And now if we make our way through here, I guess we could go down here and then get into this guy as well. Oh yes, Nathan, happy neural vacillator day. Yeah. Oh my gosh, what do we get this time around? Nathan acquired the regenerative trait. Health plus 20 per cycle. Oh my gosh, this is so freaking useful. Like I've been spending literal cycles in bed. Well, back to digging, I guess that means it's just a little bit to go. Nothing really Nathan is impressed by. We apparently discovered a chlorine gas vent, just utterly useless. We're finally breaking through the lost oil reservoir. Oh man. But at least an end is in sight and I'm gonna be right back once the excavations are finished. Alrighty, we are back. It is cycle 300 and I've made some substantial progress. As you can see, the entirety of the oil BIOME has been dug out. I also took myself the time to encase the neutronium with some granite and igneous rock. And I think I'm gonna be doing this throughout the entirety of the world, so we have a nice border. And I also started to fill up these little valleys here. I actually intend to do it all the way up to here, so we have a nice flat surface for the oil to accumulate. And after that, I'm pretty much happy. I would say we can start hooking up one oil reservoir. We don't even need to take care of the cooling just yet because it is such a large room here at the bottom and it's gonna take forever for one oil reservoir to heat everything up. But I still think it's time to have a look at the research. All we need is plastic manufacturing. We'll be getting access to the oil well as well as the polymer press. And I think we'll be able to make really good use of it. And we're already freaking doing it. In the meantime, let me check out my skills. I have 5 skill points and about 5 extra morale as well. You recommended me to dive a little bit deeper into the research so we can actually learn our skills faster. If you didn't know, the research skill makes the learning process for every other skill slightly faster. Now, what is more important, analyzing geysers or exploring space? I guess the stage we are in at the moment, geographical analysis, makes more sense. There's nothing else we require immediately, maybe demolition in the future, I don't know. I'm just gonna go for field research and we'll have that now. And then another something that is gonna become more important is plumbing, so we can actually empty out some pipes. Occasionally I do use that and now we have 2 extra morale, but of course it is fluctuating, so let's not take anything else. Here are my skills and back to research. By the way, I made a slight change here with the schedule, and the reason for that is when working down all the way in the basement, I need more downtime slots in order to make my way up. And I realized I can just have another downtime slot and then just one bedtime slot, because we just need to be able to make it to bed. We don't actually need enough time to do the entire sleeping. So I rather went with an extra downtime slot to give us an additional morale point instead of having 2 slots for the sleeping time. This schedule I think should be a little bit flexible, because for instance right now when I was working on the supercomputer and everything, of course these downtime slots were just way too many. So I guess it really depends what we're working on. I guess I had to go through 2 new researches actually in order to get to the plastic manufacturing. I didn't realize that, but we will be getting some rocket stuff. And even more important, the oil refinery that we're going to be using in the beginning to make our initial petroleum and plastic. So I think what I'm going to be doing this time around is make various schedules. For instance, we can have a schedule here that is going to be responsible for far away work. And then we can have a close schedule. Yeah, let's just call it far and close. The far schedule is going to come with 5 downtime slots before the bedtime, and then the close schedule is also going to start with 2 downtime slots and come on. So 2 downtime slots and 1 sleeping slot, though this is only going to give me +1 morale. That's 3 morale points I'm missing out on, so I'm going to get at least 1 more downtime slot before bedtime. And now whenever I'm working on a project that is actually inside of the base and I'm really close, I can just go use that second schedule. I just love how fast Nathan already walks by. It's crazy, and the mod that I use in order to get unlimited stats didn't even kick in yet. This is still all vanilla, and we yet have to train up a skill beyond the 20 mark. So I'm really intrigued how this is gonna go in the future. The advanced combustion technology has been researched, and I think to celebrate that I would like to set up another deodorizer. So we'll continue this a little bit and make sure we can get rid of some more of this polluted oxygen. The problem here, of course, is the slime lung, and the sooner we take care of that, the better. And it's actually really easy. All we need are those deodorizers. We shouldn't neglect those too much. Yeah, I have to say, I'm really proud of myself. I'm doing a phenomenal job here researching. Everything goes considerably quick. Of course, you usually don't realize how slow certain steps are, because you're always busy with other duplicants. But dude, I'm really enjoying this game at the moment so much in this playthrough. It's kind of unbelievable. It just shows me a much different side that I never really got to appreciate, even though I have to wait occasionally for more stuff to happen. But, you know, it's worth it in my opinion. Research completed. We now have access to the polymer press and the oil well. We also unlocked a couple of other things, but those 2 machines are definitely the most important aspect. And I think what we're gonna do is get started with that right away. Let's build an oil well. And of course the only place we can have it is directly on top of this thingamabob. I'm gonna be using some obsidian insulated tiles. The reason I use obsidian is because it will give a dark color and not necessarily for its properties. And then I think, yeah, we're just gonna need some access to that, of course. All of these other ladders are just scaffolding ladders, so technically certain ladders we do not need anymore as of this point. Something else I realized, contrary to when you have multiple duplicants and your save game is already very old, after each command they actually process their next command, and this is done here immediately, so I can just build, and when I observe such scenarios in the other playthrough, then they always pause a little bit in order for the CPU to catch up, giving the next command. And I have to say, seeing Nathan doing these things really quickly is extremely satisfying. Now the good thing about these schedules are, if I'm now building here at the bottom, I can switch that midday. For instance, now I know I'm working at the bottom for the rest of the day, so I'm gonna go into the first schedule. And of course this is only gonna be important as long as we don't have access to the transit tubes. Once we have the transit tubes, everything is gonna become significantly easier. And now we can actually see, coming from downstairs, all these downtime slots are necessary. I'm just about to finish eating, and then I have some more time for a sip at the water cooler before I have to go to bed. Wonderful. Another historic moment, our first oil well, and even though we're only gonna be having 3 of them, should be more enough to give us everything we need in the foreseeable future. And I think in the future I'm gonna accumulate all of these polluted water pools and actually use them in order to feed to the oil well, after sending it through a water sieve, of course. But for today, in this episode, I would like to do it differently by actually branching off. So one line is gonna go down, and we're gonna build this out of absolutely normal liquid pipes. In this case, I'm even using sandstone. And then we want to lead it directly over into the oil well. And the reason I'm doing that is because we shouldn't run the risk of the water evaporating inside of the pipes. If we have a look here at the temperatures, they are pretty agreeable, even below 60 degrees or so. So this can work for quite a while before it starts overheating anything. However, in the future, we're gonna make closed rooms for these oil wells, and then we will be needing some active cooling. Otherwise, we run the risk of making some mistakes. Something else important, of course, we require the necessary power. Now, how much power do we have left here? This is already with a higher potential load. So I think what I'm gonna do is just take the power we already established here at the bottom. All I have to do is build this wire, go out, down, and over. Yeah, easy. I don't see a reason why not to go down this route. Very good. We're now making some good progress. Just have to finish the heavy watt wire. Maybe I should have used iron in order to build that. Yeah, you know, I guess it's not that important. Something that is much more important to me is that we have a liquid shutoff somewhere here. Let's set it up right there. And what I'm gonna do is connect this with a signal switch like so. Hold on, I wanted a cable. And of course that means we have to cut the pipe here. So it goes into the shutoff and I can actually decide when I want water in here. For now, I'm just manually gonna switch it, but in the future my goal is to always disable the oil wells when my duplicant leaves the planetoid, because once they start to overpressure, we need duplicant labor, there's no other way. And by the way, I'm still living off the macroot and nutrient bars. Some of them I actually printed in order to last a little bit longer, but this is gonna be one of our biggest morale boosters once we actually switch to better food quality. So here we have an extreme potential to become more powerful. I think with everything in place, we should be able to connect these pipes. Let me see. I would rather have this actually empty. So we're gonna cut this out and let this pipe empty. There, you can go now. And we also connect this back together. Now these packets can distribute up and down. And will you look at that, everything is ready. Now, do they have, yeah, look at that. We can enable or disable the building. This is great. So the actual shutoff is only necessary for our future builds. The reason I want to shut this off in the first place is because water packets are gonna go all the way down to this spot and they're gonna wait here. And of course, because of the heat, eventually they're gonna heat up even inside insulated pipes unless you have insulation material, but that is endgame. So it will basically overheat. But right now that overheating shouldn't be an issue. This area here shouldn't be more than 100 degrees. What we could do is just go with a simple switch and a cable connecting these up. And this way we can disable the oil well directly. So the shutoff only really necessary for future contraptions. When we want to make sure the water packets aren't in the pipes for an extended period of time. There we go. I would say with that out of the way, we're gonna enable the shutoff. I'm gonna keep it in place for right now, even though it's not quite necessary. It's just gonna suck 10 watts, no problem. And the water is going in. And here we are already producing the oil. Will you look at that? This is actually amazing. And then I can just stop it like that. And the temperatures should actually go down. You know what? We could even take this to the next step and research the temperature sensor. You know what? I'm gonna even take this to the next step by researching this here with the Thermo Sensor. That's what I'm after. And then we are gonna regulate this even further with temperature. So as long as we are below a certain temperature, we can just let the oil well go for it. And then if we reach the temperature, we want to stop it. As a matter of fact, I like this solution much better, so I don't see a reason to keep the liquid shutoff in place. I guess we can keep the oil well running for the time being. Let's also connect the pipes together. We can bypass the shutoff until it gets deconstructed. I think what we should be doing here in this first stage of the oil biome is to bring all the crude oil over to this part. This is gonna give us a clean slate to work with the magma somewhat. And then the new oil for now is gonna be coming from this oil well, just replenishing whatever we have here at the bottom. And then when we need more, we can hook up more oil wells. Finally, research completed. We have access to the Thermo Sensor. Let's go ahead and get this installed. I'm just gonna add it right here. It will act as an OR gate if we connect this. So I can activate the oil well if the temperature is low enough, but I can also bypass the signal by just sending a green signal with this switch. The only thing I couldn't force right now is to shut it down. Interesting. Yeah, because if I disable the switch and let's say I want to send a green signal as long as we are below 90 degrees, then I couldn't force it to turn off, really. So I guess what we should do is also research the NOT gate. This way we can hopefully rectify the issue. Yeah, we even get access to the weight plate and some element sensors. This is an overall useful technology in terms of automation anyway. So we still can use a sensor and a switch, but if we connect this with the NOT gate, we can just reverse the sensor and then we can use the switch to force it to turn off. And back to the research table we go. This is going to be an ongoing theme in the beginning and probably throughout the mid-game, but eventually everything is going to be researched. I also noticed our single thimble reed here is actually enough to accumulate reed fiber. Even if it is most of the time not irrigated, it seems to be enough because I haven't taken care of this thimble reed in dozens of cycles and I'm still accumulating the reed fiber. So I think in good conscience we can actually go ahead and deconstruct this farm tile. Not gonna need it. By the way, just a little random tip I want to let you know about, some new players don't know about. You can use the shift key in order to build straight lines. So no matter where my mouse is, it's always going to be straight. That comes in handy very frequently, especially if you consider building all the scaffolding. Now soon enough this oil well is going to be overpressured at 75% overpressure status. I'm going to be coming down here, releasing some pressure and releasing natural gas in the process. I do not mind all the gases mixing here on the entire planetoid. This is intentional because it's gonna make it so much easier to manage in the future rather than trying to keep everything separately. I also don't mind if we have various liquids here at the bottom. Eventually we'll have to pump out everything and sort it. It's inevitable. But yeah, our research here is completed. I have finally access to the NOT gate and we should go ahead, build that right away. I'm gonna be doing something like this. Let's go ahead and cut this up. I want to connect this with a bridge router. So these two signals here are actually connected. They will be going into the NOT gate and then into the oil well. And this way I simply invert the signal. So when I send a green signal, then it will truly be red and disable the oil well. And when this sends a green signal, it will also disable it. That means I can force it to disable by enabling the switch here. So it's gonna send a red signal enabling the oil well as long as we are below 90 degrees, and when we go above the 90 degrees it's gonna send a green signal and therefore through the NOT gate shut it off. And there is my automation. We have to turn off the switch and now the oil well can go, and it's gonna be regulated by the Thermo Sensor. So if it gets too hot it will still shut off, but I can now use the switch to shut it off for good. Yeah, and now the next step is gonna be to finish this part right here. I wanna make sure all of this is kind of flat and then we start pumping things out. And now we are actually depressuring the oil well. Now, why did we only do this for a very short amount of time? That is interesting. Maybe it did raise the temperature just enough to give that short signal. Raise the temperature just enough to... But yeah, that reminds me, we should actually upgrade the priority here of the oil well. Whenever it calls out for depressuring it, I want to make sure we are available. Now let's see this happen again. Depressuring it and... yeah, look at that. Now the sensor will give a short signal and actually interrupt Nathan's work. I guess in this case it's going to be a little bit harder to regulate it with temperatures because they are fluctuating quite a bit. It might behave a little bit better if we encase this and let a oil layer accumulate so it doesn't fluctuate as much. But seeing this part getting really hot, I believe we want to exchange at least the first 5 pipes here with insulated ones. There is my encasement. Now this can actually accumulate, fill up a little bit, and then when we release the hot natural gas, it might not actually go above the 100 degrees so quickly. Oh, will you look at that? It is actually already working now with a thin layer. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad. It is not heating up above the 100 degrees, even though we are releasing quite a bit of hot natural gas. Nice, I'm really glad this is working out. I'm gonna be finishing the leveling of this part and then we can start pumping the rest of the oil over and get a clean slate here for the next episode to potentially already produce some plastics. But yeah, with that out of the way, I would say we're gonna wrap it up for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Have a great time and see you in the next one. Bye bye.